Welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Drink a Little podcast, where we talk about exploring the world of wine and spirits while not letting it take over your life. My name is Kelly Doherty. I'm a joyful child of God and a certified life coach. I'm also a wine educator and wine and spirits brand designer. I'll show you how you can navigate your relationship with alcohol and how that mindset spills over into the rest of your life. We'll learn about the world of wine and spirits together, all while bolstering your confidence that you can have boundaries around alcohol and live your most amazing life. This is episode number 33. We're calling it Gravity. And this episode is all about a wine called DAOU, which is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. And this winery has sweeping views of mountain hillsides that are densely planted with vineyards. And when I did a little background research on this winery, the original mountain where it was developed by some people that are not the current owners, but I'll get to them in a minute. They're pretty interesting. It was developed by a Russian enologist, and an enologist is a wine scientist. And he was making high quality California Cabernet in small French oak barrels. And in 1961, a Beverly Hills cardiologist named Dr. Stanley Hoffman moved his family to Paso Robles and followed his dream of becoming a winemaker. And together, they got together, developed this mountain, and they called it Hoffman Mountain, and was the first gravity flow winery in America and the first commercial scale winery in Paso Robles. So gravity flow is very important, and it doesn't make wine headlines for most consumers. Maybe because you're thinking there's gravity everywhere, so why wouldn't there be gravity in a winery? And yes, there is regular gravity in a winery, but there are a lot of times where you have to move wine to a new part of the winemaking process or the system. Like you have to move wine from the tank where it was fermented into a barrel to age. You have to move wine from a barrel from when it was aging to the bottling line. There are a lot of different stages that have different movements. And most of this time, this is done by pumps or machines that both use a lot of electricity, or they also agitate the wine. And so gravity flow wineries are designed specifically to take advantage of gravity, allowing the wines to move through the process of wine making more naturally, more gently with gravity. So you have to build things on different levels for that to work, and it's somewhat expensive depending on where you are building it. And I am blessed to work in one of the only gravity flow wineries in Texas, and it's kind of built into the side of a hill. So that helps. There's already several floors, several layers to the winemaking system that help the wine naturally progress through the process of winemaking with minimal man-made intervention. So it ultimately creates a more elegant wine, something that is less over extracted. My best friend Marnell would say something that doesn't karate chop you in the throat is what we are going for around here. Something that's comfortable to drink. But basically it has been handled less. So it is more in its natural state. And so at some point in time, this Gravity Flow winery, this DAOU winery, was bought by the DAOU brothers, and it's DAOU. If you see that in the store, it's relatively common, some of these wines in the store. And they really created their first wines from Paso that are Cabernets that rivaled the highest quality in the world. Think Napa, think Bordeaux. And before that, Paso was not known, that area of California was not known for Cabernet. It was known for Zinfandel. It was known for Syrah. And so, of course, any groundbreaking person, everyone thought they're crazy. They're going to build these Cabernets, this vineyard based on Bordeaux blends. and they didn't think they would work. But the brothers brought their passion. They brought their own Cabernet clones, and they even have cultivated their own wild yeasts. And their goal is to deliver the highest possible quality. And I think this wine does speak to that. So I've got some poured right here, and I'm going to give it a little swirl and give it a taste. A little sniff first. I do have to have a precursor that I see this is 14.5% alcohol, so it is very high alcohol. And it is very complex, very layered. And I know this is not 100% cab, so that's definitely possible. They've added a little Petit Verdot and a little Merlot for balance and complexity. And that is helping it give a lot of nuanced flavors in here. So there is some characteristic Cabernet green bell pepper, but there are a lot of other nice herbal things like crushed herbs, fennel, and the fruits in here are very diverse. This is, I would say, very blackberry jam, cherry preserves, black raspberry, deep flavored stuff. I'm going to try that one more time because it's got a long, gorgeous finish. It's got a little bit of chocolate on it, which, makes any girl happy. So the reason I went into such detail about the gravity flow wineries is because that's the coaching topic of today, after you go pick up some of this DAOU and try it out. And just as gravity is pulling these wines through different processes in the winery, the gravity of things we define as most important to us are the things that draw us along and get us into flow in our lives or out of flow, depending on your current decisions. And so that's all good if we have consistently decided, consciously decided what's important. But you can just turn on the news and see people who have decided that social media is most important, or gambling is most important, or over drinking, or politics are most important. So some of those things don't help us get in flow, but it still feels like we're being drawn to them, that gravity is just drawing us there. And I totally get it. We're going along in the flow with other people, and it seems like we're doing the right thing. But we're often doing the thing that is of least resistance or is easiest. And that makes sense. And there's a trap that people believe that in order to get in flow, you need to follow your bliss. You need to make sure you're having fun and it's easy. And so we're often doing these things that feel easy and fun, and that are coming from external forces or gravity drawing us there, drawing us to continue probably sometimes in habits and ways that we know are not the best and most beneficial for us, that we know could be changed, but we feel that pull. And those gravitational pulls feel like they're coming from your partner. They feel like you're coming from your kids, from the news, from your family, your coworkers. And it really does seem like we don't get to decide what gravity looks like or what that pull feels like. But we actually do create our own little atmosphere, and it has its inevitable twists and turns. But the overall flow of our lives, our directions, where our gravity is centered, we have immense power over. So I had a dream one time. I'm not into interpreting dreams, but sometimes they bear Googling. So this was maybe a year after my fiance passed away. And I had a dream that I am falling through the trees in darkness, and there's no leaves on these trees. I'm getting all scratched up. And he's actually in my dream, and he is trying to catch me. He doesn't catch me. I just keep falling and falling. And that is our subconscious. That's truly how I felt. I felt in life that gravity of falling with no bottom and we all have those points, those dark points where either we created something or something happened to us that was devastating or life-changing. And we all have those points where gravity seems to be in charge and we don't have that grounding. And I think that's part of life. If we didn't ever feel like that, we'd never have the opportunity to choose to gain perspective. And it's, what do you do when you're falling through the air in the dream? Well, after Googling it, I decided I don't want to have that dream again. And I told myself we're not going to have that dream again. Not in a Pollyanna, ignore that I felt that weight and that gravity, because that was real. But I decided that I can possibly do something about it. I didn't know what it was, but I acknowledge that while I don't know what my next steps are, and I feel very alone, I feel miles beyond sadness, but I still knew I had the potential to make my own gravity flow system. Not an engineer, just my own personal gravity flow system. And once you give your brain that direction and say, okay, I don't want to live that dream anymore, you don't have to know what the next steps are at all. Your brain goes to work trying to make that direction happen. So I'm not following my current gravity through the falling trees. I'm consciously deciding to look for other ways to create groundedness. And just that decision opened me up to look for ways to create my own growth out of the sadness, my own stabilizing forces. And I really know that whatever you're going through is challenging and sometimes feels like gravity and other people and other circumstances are in charge. And naturally, we want to get rid of the feeling. We want to drink the feeling away. We want to eat the feeling away. And the gravity of the situation is you were meant to feel the feeling and go beyond it. You are meant to go through it and go beyond it, not to push it away, but to experience it. And I know that you can embrace life's gravitational pulls and make that flow of energy work for you. And I'm definitely not saying this is an overnight thing. I am just saying it is possible for you. Don't get caught in the flow of things and miss one single episode. Please subscribe to this podcast so you'll get notified of new episodes. And know that we will be back next week tasting a classic, sticking in California, but going to Napa, the classic Charles Krug Cabernet. And if you are working on creating your own gravitational pull so you are balanced and loving your life, I do teach to a deeper level. I have a one-on-one coaching program tailored to your needs where we cover how to stop over drinking, how to love yourself for all the right reasons, and emotional well-being. Go to kellydoherty.com/cheers to learn more. I'll see you next week.